In 1994, a Kurdish shepherd was walking across a hillside in southeastern Turkey. He kicked a rock. It wasn't a rock. It was the top of a carved stone pillar, 18 feet tall, covered in intricate animal reliefs, part of a precisely arranged circular structure, buried underground. For 11,600 years, what that shepherd kicked on that hillside in 1994 was not just an archaeological site. It was the moment the entire timeline of human civilization broke. This is Göbekli Tepe, and everything you were taught about early humans is about to change. The story of human civilization, as most of us learned it, follows a clear sequence. Hunter-gatherers roamed in small bands. Then agriculture was invented around 10,000 BCE. Farming created food surplus. Food surplus allowed permanent settlements. Permanent settlements grew into villages, then cities. Cities produced social complexity, specialization, religion, and eventually writing and monumental architecture. In that model, complex stone temples are near the end of the sequence. They come after agriculture, after cities, after social organizations sophisticated enough to direct the labor of thousands of people toward a single construction project. Göbekli Tepe was built at 9600 BCE, before agriculture, before cities, before writing, before pottery, by people who, according to every model of prehistoric human development we had constructed before 1994, were not supposed to be capable of building it. But here's the part no one talks about. The scale of what they built is not modest. Göbekli Tepe is not a simple ring of stones. It is a complex of at least 20 circular enclosures, possibly more, since only approximately 5% of the site has been excavated. Each enclosure contains multiple T-shaped limestone pillars, some standing up to 18 feet tall and weighing up to 20 tons. The pillars are not rough-hewn. They are precisely shaped. They are carved with extraordinary detail. Lions, foxes, scorpions, vultures, wild boar, gazelles, and abstract symbols that archaeologists are still attempting to fully decode. Some pillars have human arms carved onto their sides, suggesting they may represent anthropomorphic beings, figures that are neither fully human nor fully animal. The construction required quarrying limestone from bedrock, shaping it with flint and obsidian tools, transporting stones weighing up to 20 tons across rough terrain, and erecting them with precision in carefully designed circular patterns. No metal tools, no wheel, no draft animals, no agricultural surplus to feed a construction workforce. Just human hands, human organization, and a purpose that we do not yet fully understand. And this is where things get genuinely fascinating. The archaeologist who spent the last decade of his life excavating Göbekli Tepe was a German researcher named Klaus Schmidt. Schmidt arrived at the site in 1994, the same year the shepherd's discovery was reported, recognized immediately what he was looking at, and dedicated the rest of his career to understanding it. Schmidt's conclusion, developed over 20 years of excavation, was radical. He argued that Göbekli Tepe inverted the standard model of civilization development entirely. The standard model says, first agriculture, then temples. Schmidt argued the evidence at Göbekli Tepe suggests first temples, then agriculture. That the monumental communal construction project, the act of gathering thousands of people to build something sacred and permanent, may have been the driver that made agriculture necessary, not the result of it. People gathered. They needed to eat while they gathered. Gathering required a food supply. A food supply required cultivation. The temple didn't come after civilization. The temple may have created it. Archaeologists still debate this. Schmidt's interpretation is not universally accepted, but it has permanently changed the questions the field asks about the relationship between religion, architecture, and the development of complex society. What happens next changes everything, because the construction of Göbekli Tepe is only half the mystery. The other half is what happened when it was finished. At some point, archaeologists estimate around 8000 BCE, approximately 1,600 years after construction began. The builders of Göbekli Tepe deliberately buried the entire complex, not abandoned it, not left it to decay, buried it intentionally, carefully, using enormous quantities of debris, animal bones, flint tools, stone fragments that appear to have been brought to the site specifically for the purpose of filling in the enclosures. The burial was so thorough and so protective that it preserved the carved pillars in near-perfect condition for the next 10,000 years. Whoever buried Göbekli Tepe understood, on some level, that they were preserving it. They chose to seal it rather than destroy it. They chose preservation over continued use. Why? We do not know. No written record explains the decision. No oral tradition has been definitively connected to it. The people who built Göbekli Tepe left no text, no inscription, no explanation. They built one of the most extraordinary structures in human history, used it for over 1,000 years, and then carefully put it to sleep, and walked away. But here's the part that reframes everything. Only 5% of Göbekli Tepe has been excavated. The GPR surveys, ground-penetrating radar, that have been conducted across the hilltop have identified the outlines of at least 20 enclosures buried beneath the surface, possibly more. The full extent of the site is still unknown. What has been excavated has already rewritten the timeline of human civilization. What is still underground has not yet been seen by any living human being. Klaus Schmidt, before his death in 2014, estimated that full excavation of the site could take another 50 years. The sheer quantity of material, carefully buried, precisely preserved, waiting under a Turkish hillside, is that vast. Current excavations are ongoing. The site is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. International teams continue to work there annually. Each season produces new findings that require existing interpretations to be revised. And this is where things get awe-inspiring in a way that extends far beyond one archaeological site. Göbekli Tepe is not necessarily unique. It is the first site of its kind to be found and properly excavated. But GPR surveys and satellite imaging across the broader region of southeastern Turkey and northern Syria, the area archaeologists call the Fertile Crescent, have identified numerous anomalies consistent with buried prehistoric structures. Some of these anomalies are as large or larger than Göbekli Tepe. None of them have been fully excavated. The story of prehistoric humanity that we have constructed over the last 2 centuries was built on the sites we happen to find, in the places we happen to look, using the tools we happen to have available at the time. Göbekli Tepe was buried under a hill for 11,000 years. It was found by accident, by a shepherd, kicking a rock. How many other sites are under other hills, under other deserts, under the accumulated sediment of river valleys and coastal plains that were once dry land and are now submerged beneath rising sea levels? The honest answer from the archaeologists who think about this most seriously is, we don't know. The map of prehistoric human achievement that we carry in our heads is built almost entirely on what we have been lucky enough to find. Göbekli Tepe tells us that what we have found is a very small fraction of what existed. And what existed was far more sophisticated, far more organized, and far more intentional than any model of early human development had predicted. Right now, on a hillside in southeastern Turkey, excavation teams are carefully removing debris that was placed there by human hands 11,600 years ago. Every season, new pillars emerge, new carvings, new enclosures, new questions. The shepherd who kicked that carved stone in 1994 did not know what he had found. He had found the proof that human beings were capable of extraordinary things, organized, spiritual, architectural things, thousands of years before we thought they were. And the people who built it knew it was worth preserving. They buried it carefully. And they were right. It survived. It is still telling its story. And we are still learning how to listen.